Countdown to Kickoff is supported by and brought to you by Saltire Energy, the global market leader in specialist drilling equipment rental. And by Craig International, a truly global company with 10 offices strategically placed around the world. The future of global procurement is right here. Earlier today, Aberdeen Football Club announced that Neil Warnock is the Dons' new interim manager until the end of the season. He said to the club's media, "Aberdeen is a big club with clear ambition, and I'm hoping that during my time here, the supporters will get behind the team and I can put a smile on their faces. I'm really looking forward to the challenge here at Aberdeen. By all accounts, there is a good group of lads here, and it's my job now to get the best out of them." The chairman had this to say about the appointment. "From the moment we first spoke with Neil, his enthusiasm for managing Aberdeen was infectious. He had an incredible career in management, not only in terms of volume of games and winning promotions, but also of coming into clubs at short notice and making an immediate impact." Hi everybody, a very warm welcome to Ali Beg ABTV here on YouTube this Monday night. Well, what a past few days it's been. We'll go over the Celtic game in just a moment. We'll look ahead to the Rangers game a little bit later. We will of course react to today's big news coming out of Pittodrie with you, the fans. It's all to come. It's going to be a fairly bumper show this evening. So if you're watching for the very first time, you are more than welcome. Thank you for jumping on board. If you enjoyed tonight's show, don't forget to press the old like button. And what I found interesting over the past few days is that 72% of people who watch the channel have not actually subscribed to the channel. So if you wouldn't mind giving us a wee follow, it doesn't cost anything, that would be absolutely marvellous as we edge now closer to 3,100 subscribers. So let me give you my thoughts on Neil Warnock first of all. The reaction, I have to say, has been fairly mixed, particularly on my own social media pages. And from what I'm reading in general, I think it's been a fairly mixed review. I watched his interview that he gave to the club earlier today in the press conference, which the club put up on their own YouTube channel. And I have to say, I'm coming round to him. You can see the big character. You can see the big personality. And what I liked about his press conference was that he said immediately that his aim is to finish in the higher echelons of the league and hopefully get into Europe and win the cup. Now, I really like that. He's setting his goal straight away. I enjoyed the fact that he did the press conference with a smile on his face. I really enjoyed his honesty. And I think if he stamps his authority and his experience on the team, I think he could do really, really well for us. He holds the record for the most league games managed in English league football, 1,626 to be precise, during his time with 15 different clubs, and he masterminded 8 different promotions. He brings in his long-term assistant, Ronnie Jepson, who joined him at Cormack Park today, and Peter Levin will continue his duties as first-team coach. So a few of you got in touch with me this morning and said, has he taken training? So he was at training today before he did his press call and his photo shoots and all that sort of stuff. So he observed training. He allowed Peter to dominate training, to basically take the boys through their paces. But I'm pleased that he got onto the training ground and he was able to have a look and observe ahead of tomorrow's game against Rangers. So tonight's show is live. So if you want to get in touch and you haven't got in touch before, all you have to do is under the video, you'll see a host of comments have already come in. Just feel free to leave your comment there and I will absolutely do my best to read out the majority of all of your thoughts on the show later. So first of all, let's do all the housekeeping. Let's review the Celtic game. Obviously, it finished 1-1 at Pittodrie on Saturday. an instantly forgettable first half where I just thought we were absolutely awful. But in the second half, my goodness, what a transformation. And we could have actually ended up winning the game with a little bit more luck. So it puts us in 8th position, and it means, with the games in hand, and as I keep mentioning, these games in hand are, they're not guaranteed points, but if we can win these games in hand and start climbing the table, it will really make a huge difference to us, and it will put us closer to where Neil Warnock wants us to be. Here are the match stats from that game. So we enjoyed only 29% of possession to their 71%. They had 22 shots in total to our 7. We had 3 on target to their 4. 9 fouls committed by them to our 6, and we only managed to achieve 1 corner throughout the 90 minutes. That's something we need to address, I think, because the game against Dundee, we didn't win any corners. So corners at the moment are very much at a premium. So this is what Peter actually had to say after the game. At halftime, I just told the boys to relax into the game, to believe in themselves and be braver on the ball. We created a number of good chances in the second half. I thought we were energetic, pressed the ball a lot better, and we showed that belief. It's a good point, and now the boys need to keep believing in themselves because they are a top team, as they showed in the second half. The second half, as I've mentioned, was absolutely, I thought we were fantastic. And what a difference it makes when we take control of the game and we dictate the pace of the game and dictate the flow of the game. And it just goes to prove, when you look at the first half, when Celtic absolutely dominated the ball, dominated possession, and we couldn't get a look in, and I don't think at one point in the first half we actually strung 3 passes together. When we came out for the second half, all of a sudden we've got possession of that football, and we're keeping possession of the ball, and we're moving it quickly through transitions. We're getting it down the flanks, and more importantly, we're bringing Bojan Majowski into play at any given opportunity. And when we dictate play and the flow of the game, it just goes to show that we can compete with Celtic and Rangers, particularly at Pittodrie. So if we were to take the second half performance and translate that into 90 minutes tomorrow night against Rangers, there is absolutely no reason why we can't come away with another famous victory. It's like what Peter said, the players, just have to believe in themselves and be braver on the ball. And I absolutely tip my hat to Peter, because he got his team lineup spot on, he got his tactics spot on, and he was able to see immediately that it wasn't working and changed it up and gave the boys that little kick up the backside at halftime. And it obviously had the desired effect. So I absolutely tip my hat to him. Right, let's look ahead now to the Rangers game. So what I want to do is I've cleared most of the timeline for you, but I've still got some stuff that I want to bring in, which we can go throughout the show tonight. So first and foremost, let me grab that. I've kind of predicted the team tomorrow as well. Yeah, let's see. Hang on, just let me put everything in and then I'll get to it. Yes, the match stats. I definitely want to get that in so you can have a look at that. Where is it? Ayo. And typically, I can't find it. Hang on. It's in here somewhere. It is in here somewhere. There it is. Okay, and I think I have 2 more items to bring in for you, and then the timeline is full up, and I don't have to keep going back and forward and basically kill time while I put everything in. So, last thing to go on the timeline. So if you're watching for the first time, I'm producing and presenting at the same time and working the software, as you can see, while I'm talking to you. Right, that's us. We're in. We are now good to go. Don't have to mess about with that anymore. So tomorrow, we travel to Ibrox to take on second place Rangers. Kick-off in Glasgow is at 8 o'clock UK time. So here's the team news that I've predicted. Feel free to agree or disagree. Leave your comments. So what I'm hoping, and what I think he'll do, is that he'll play 4 across the back. He might play Graham Shinney just in front. And then a midfield 4 of McGrath, Barron, Phillips. I'm going to go back with Killian. And Dante to play on the right-hand side, with Bojan to play up top on his own. Now, Neil does like to play a 4-2-3-1 formation or a 4-3-3 formation. So, look, it could be anything tomorrow. Obviously, we will know come 7 o'clock UK time tomorrow what the team will be. Did you know that Aberdeen have a poor overall record against Rangers, winning just 7 of their last 39 encounters with the Ibrox side? Rangers manager Philippe Clement has lost just 1 of his 22 competitive games so far, boasting a win percentage of 82%. Aberdeen's last victory at Ibrox came back in September when the Dons came away with a wonderful 3-1 win. The man in charge is Don Robertson, and on VAR is Greg Robertson. So, it will be very interesting to see what Neil does tomorrow night. Just leave your comments below and let me know what you think. So, while we're here, let's get on with your thoughts and comments. Bob Duff has said, hang on a second. Right, let me move that to the top. There we are. Let me get the comments to the top. Right, let's start this in order. So Dave Sharp has said, have to admit to being sceptical, but on paper, he's exactly what we need just now. Vast experience, a realistic short-term contract, and a guy who seems to be doing it for the love of the game. Put your glasses on, Ali. George Finlay says, I think the next few months could be very interesting. We have brought in a brilliant character. Let's hopefully enjoy this. Come on, you Reds. Rassi McLeod has said, great move by the club. Interest in the club will be off the scale, which can only be good for attracting the calibre of manager we want long term. Hope he comes over to say hello to us tomorrow night. That's a really good point, because obviously the chairman now has put together this outside consultancy firm to look very closely into the football department from the academy all the way through to the first team. I thought Willie Miller's points were very interesting over the weekend when he said, if Dave Cormack feels the need to bring in these consultants, is that a representative that the people who are currently in position are not up to the task? So Dave Cormack actually, as part of his welcome to the football club, his welcome statement to Neil Warnock, actually spoke about that. So he said, ambitious clubs regularly invest in independent advice to support internal coaching, data analysis, recruitment, and medical teams with the goal of improving performance through continuous learning and development. His final paragraph, which is the most important one I thought, with this work well underway and due to be completed by early April, we are aiming to have a new management team confirmed by the end of the season. The review will include benchmarking the club against similar teams that currently outperform us in Europe. So I thought, it was good that he came out and cleared all that up. So Kaiser has said, well, he's here now, so let's get behind him. Absolutely. Gordon Keith Ritchie has said hello to everybody. The next few months will be interesting. Time to assess the squad, and hopefully Neil and the Football Monitoring Board are working together and we have a new manager scouted and getting in place for next season. Excuse me. Gary Milner said that he's really excited. We couldn't have appointed a more experienced man if we tried. He will motivate the players and put smiles on our faces. Come on, you Reds. You see, that's one of the things that's really interesting, is that, again, as I've mentioned on the channel before, I don't speak for any Aberdeen fan, but I would like to, everybody just by going through your comments and your thoughts, everybody wanted experience. And I don't think we can get anybody more experienced than Neil Warnock. So that box has been absolutely ticked. Scott W. has said, I think this is a brilliant appointment. We need experience. We've got it. It's taken all potential pressure off leaving and allows the club to conduct a thorough search for the new manager. Duncan Wright has said, it feels like another experiment from Dave Cormack. I hope it works out, and as ever, wish the new manager well. Hopefully the team give a performance like the second half against Celtic, Europe and a cup. John Farquhar said, time to get behind the management and the team. Good luck, Neil. Lewis Sutherland has said, evening all, good to see the FMB went for an experienced man this time, albeit as an interim measure. All the best to Neil for the next few months. Let's all get behind the team now. Stand free. Excuse me. Ian Fulton has said his interview was a breath of fresh air. Come on, you Reds. I completely agree. I really enjoyed it. Bob Dove is wishing everybody a very good evening. How are you, Bob? Scott Bowie has said, excited for the rest of the season. Pity he couldn't have been brought in earlier. May have had time to get some players in the window. It's also interesting that he came out and said that he actually was hoping that he could come in next week, but the lure of taking charge of the team against Rangers was just too good. Simon Roy. Hi, Simon. Let's get behind him. Close pals with Fergie. He's close pals with Fergie, I hear. Hopefully we play the second half against Celtic. I'd like to go with 2 up top. Baz Strachan has said, mad to think that Neil Warnock was 63 years old when the Rangers were formed. Oh dear. Graham Klein has said all the right things today. Hopefully the next 4 months is upwards. Phil McLean has said, evening Ali, a win tomorrow night and he'd win all of our hearts. Wouldn't he just? South Stand View. Good to have someone who won't be fazed by the Glasgow clubs. If he can build on the Celtic game and get everyone playing like they can on a regular basis, it will be a good move. Kevin Thomas said, let's just see how it goes. I think he'll do well. Come on, you Reds. John Bleasdale's on. Hi, John. I hope you're well. Warnock came across well in the press conference. You could tell he's excited about working in Scottish football and for a club our size. Looking forward to the short journey under him. Matthew Cool has said, good evening, Ali. Hope you're well. I'm doing just fine, Matthew. Let's see how Neil gets on. He looks up for it. Stand free. Nicola Beaton has said, I'm excited to see what he brings to the club. The Scottish game needs a good character. Ken Ewan has said it was interesting that he's turned down other offers for him. Yeah, I agree. Mr. Harmon, how are you doing? I worry that if it goes wrong, we'll have spent a lot on short-term wages with little reward. Hugh Cullen has said, I'm worried he doesn't know enough about current Scottish football squads. Otherwise, quite pleased. Robson's press conference, etc. were brutal. Paul Herd has said, what a difference when Leighton Clarkson was pushed further up with that little bit of freedom, talking about the Celtic game. I've been saying it for months. Get him further up the pitch. David Scott has said, hopefully we can get ourselves structured for tomorrow night's game. Players in their proper positions. Sean Simpson has said, Peter playing Clarkson up beside Bojan is what we've been needing all season. Sager Saturn Lad has said, good evening, how you doing? Scott W has said, for me, tomorrow is more about the performance than the result. We then have 8 or 9 games which should be winnable. Get a point tomorrow, brilliant. The look to pick up as many points from the 9 as possible. Duncan Shand has said, should be an interesting few months ahead. Understand Neil only taking on 1 Old Firm game. Kaiser has said, as long as this 3 at the back nonsense is over and done with, I think you'll find it is, Kaiser. Duncan Shand has said, same starting lineup as Saturday, thought Phillips was stronger than Clarkson. So many of you, actually, just as I'm skimming through the comments, are delighted with his appointment. Not seeing many negative comments about him at all, which is good to see. Okay. Yeah, see, this is quite interesting. A lot of you are actually interacting with each other, which I love. And talking about that, what we don't want is a circus to come with Neil Warnock because of his personality and because of the type of character that he is, which is actually a very good point. Dave Sharp makes a good point. He says, Neil Warnock stated that it was basically a clean slate for the squad, RE being selected. It's going to be fascinating to see how he sets us up. John Moore has said, like Neil's character, but do we really need him after one game? Peter looks like he's got a better handle on things than Barry. Can't rush the next appointment, but would rather a new manager in before the season ends. John Bleasdale came back to say, I think for his first game, Warnock, with the help of Leven, will play it safe with a similar starting lineup to Saturday, but won't be afraid to change it. Clarkson did well when he came on. Jason Campbell said, no neck rubbing, lug scratching or nose picking in that interview. How refreshing. South Stand View came back to say, Phillips had an interesting game on Saturday. He looks like he will give 100% for the club. He ran his socks off and then Clarkson came in to try and take their defence apart. Baz Strachan has said, what though if he gets us into Europe and was to win the cup? Surely the fans would call for him to get the job permanently. Just a thought. Duncan Wright came back to say, shame Neil didn't have the chance to take in some players. He seems to happy to go with what he's got though. Okay, so that's the majority of the comments that have come in so far. So a couple of more bits and pieces for you. If you are going to the game tomorrow, here's your weather forecast. So at kick-off at 8 o'clock, they're expecting the temperature to be 3 degrees. The low will be -1, the high will be 3, and they're expecting moderate winds in Glasgow tomorrow. Now, as most of you know, I absolutely love the history of the football club. So if you're watching the repeat on Tuesday, which is the 6th of February, back in 1971, disaster for the club as a fire breaks out in the main stand. The blaze ruined all the offices and dressing rooms. Many club artefacts were lost, but thankfully the Scottish Cup was saved by the firemen. If you have read my old blog page, which is still kicking about, www.alibeg.com, where I've interviewed in depth a host of ex-Aberdeen players, I've actually written the story of the fire. And when I was researching the story, I was able to track down a fireman who was actually there on the night. And they think it was a discarded cigarette that set the fire off. But, you know, there was a lot of talk about, oh, it was an insurance job and all that sort of stuff. So, if you want to find out more about the fire, because I do think, you know, I really enjoyed putting the story together. And I do think it is a really interesting story. And actually, somebody a while ago sent me a host of photographs from down the years, right back to 1903, which had been saved in the fire, and you can still see where they'd been singed round the corners, and you know, when paper turns black and all that sort of stuff, and you know, they were able to save these photographs, and thank God they did. You know, there's that famous photograph kicking about of the firemen bringing the Scottish Cup through the window of I think it is the boardroom. So they were able to save the Scottish Cup. But as I mentioned, many club artefacts, unfortunately, were lost in the fire. And what's also interesting is Aberdeen's reserve goalkeeper at the time, oh gosh, his name completely escapes me. He was a trainee joiner, and as well as training with the team, he also helped rebuild that part of the main stand as part of his duties. Andrew Geohagen, I think is how you pronounce his name. His name just popped into my head. I hope I've pronounced it correctly. So yeah, so if you want to read more about the fire, just head along to the old written blog page, and you can find stuff there. Right, let's see if more of your comments have come in. They certainly have. Aberdeen 1903 makes a very interesting point. He says, good evening all. Wonder if Neil will recall Vinny Besserwin. Let me come on to that in a moment. Mark Howison has said Babbage needs to start next season. Alfie Babbage, who scored a hat-trick at the weekend, is doing really well at the moment. Alexander Wallace has said, let's take Cantwell out of the game tomorrow. Get the pressure on early. Don't give an inch. Spot on, mate. Sega Saturn Lad has said, would Neil be the first Englishman to lead the Dons? Well, Keith Birkinshaw was in charge for a couple of games back in the 90s. I can't think of any other Englishmen apart from Keith Birkinshaw who have taken charge of the team. Can you think of anyone else? I can't. So I just think it was Keith Birkinshaw and now Neil Warnock. Kaiser 1903. Did anyone notice Sportsy never played any recognition to Ali Shurin before the Celtic game, but showed a player being presented at Ibrox before their game against Livingston? Typical BBC. I didn't see that at all. But that's the least you would expect, especially at the beginning of an edit. Just explain what it is. Neil McDonald has asked, what are the rules for recalling loanees? I'd have to look that up. I don't know off the top of my head. Mark Howison has said, watch Warnock on Peter Crouch podcast for some insights into his management style. Yeah, I'll definitely take a look at that. Graham Watt has said, delighted to have Neil with us. Love this chat about the Cup. I think the players will enjoy working with him and the fans will give him a warm welcome at Pittodrie next week. Ian Porterfield, great shout from John Robertson. Of course, Ian Porterfield, who took charge straight after Sir Alex Ferguson, the late Ian Porterfield. Brilliant, John. Well done. Kevin McWilliam has said, good evening. Good to see you back, Ali. Think Palvaro has been a breath of fresh air and good to see Clarkson playing with freedom. South Stand for you, Ian Porterfield. Kaiser's come on. Kaiser, you're absolutely spot on. Ian Porterfield is Scottish. Of course he is. Of course he is. Oh, dearie me, we're getting ourselves in a right twist here. Ian is Scottish. Everyone's coming in now saying Ian is Scottish. Of course he was. Dearie me, schoolboy error. Okay, how long have we done on the show tonight? Coming up to half an hour. Okay. Right, guys, as it stands, that's all the comments that have come in. Thank you so much for watching, as always. Thank you for your continued support on the channel. It's doing unbelievably well. We are edging closer to 3,100 subscribers. My goal is to get to 3,500 subscribers before the end of the season. So if you have enjoyed tonight's show and you've not already subscribed, it doesn't cost you anything. Just press that little button, and then obviously you get a notification to let you know when all the shows are coming. Dennis Shand said Porterfield was a fifer. So we will be back on Wednesday for the review show. So I hope you can join me then. So all that's left to say is basically the very best of luck to Neil and to the boys tomorrow night. As we've mentioned already tonight, if we can take the second half display against Celtic and put that over 90 minutes, we have absolutely nothing to fear tomorrow night. And I would have every confidence that we can come away with something from Ibrox at least. There's some more comments coming in. Just let me quickly take care of them because there's a couple of things there. Paul Herder said, talking of the tribute to Ali Shurin, it was very good to see the Celtic fans join in the clapping. I completely agree. Mad Ferret said, I thought Keith Birkinshaw was here as a director of football. He was, but he definitely took charge for at least 1 or 2 games. So I hope that's cleared that up. Right, guys, we're all done. Enjoy the rest of your evening. The very best of luck to the lads tomorrow night. And I will see you again on Wednesday for the review show. Take good care of yourselves. Stand free.